Welcome to Weather to Watch. This is a national review, the lower 48, of not just weather worth watching for the next day or two, but actually for the next 2 weeks. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's dive in. We're going to first of all take a look at the visible satellite loop on a Monday afternoon here, and it looks pretty quiet across much of the country, to be honest. We do have frontal systems dropping across the central and eastern U.S. The most interesting weather, and it's really not much, is going on in the southeast. We'll overlay the 500 millibar flow on top of this. This is a good kind of general idea of the jet stream flow and where things are moving. So this is one disturbance right here moving through the flow. Then we have another one up here underneath the label that's going to be coming on down. Each of these supplies weak cool fronts. And now this one is a pretty potent trough in the upper atmosphere. And so it will lead to some cold conditions. Meanwhile, this is building heat in the southwestern U.S. So on the subject of cool, these are freeze warnings in the darker purple and frost advisories in the lighter bluish color that cover much of lower Michigan, a sliver of northern Ohio, certainly into the Appalachian Mountains there between Virginia and West Virginia. Much of New York State is under a freeze warning, as are portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as low temperatures tonight dip below freezing wherever you see this change over to this darker or lighter color here, with pretty much a hard freeze going on in upstate New York. The overall pattern here on this Monday afternoon does feature cool temperatures in the northeast. This is one high that's actually departing. You can see it's centered there over, at least a part of it, over West Virginia. So that's what's causing the cool air up there, with temperatures during the afternoon only in the 40s and 50s up there. Meanwhile, this next frontal system is moving through the plains. It's already occluded. You have a warm front cutting through Iowa. And for the remainder of tonight, the precipitation areas are breaking out like this. We have a stall front down in Florida and Georgia. Some marginal severe weather risks with that. Meanwhile, a little bit of light showers and scattered showers out ahead of that warm front and that next weather system coming in. If you take a look, this stall front is maybe producing a marginal risk. That's this dark green color of a severe storm or two. Hail and high winds are the threats, really. And then right here in this shaded area, that's where we could get a little bit of hazardous flooding conditions there in south central parts of Louisiana. So for the next couple of days here, starting today and going for the next, till Sunday night, the overall jet stream flow as defined by the EPS model run here, this is not only an ensemble run, but it's also the average over 6-7 days of an ensemble run. So it kind of gives you the general idea that the Northeast is still going to be under the influence of that trough, and that will support at least that one more cool front coming in. And then a ridge of high pressure begins to build and move more to the east with time, providing hot temperatures. You can see these are the temperature anomalies, again, averaged over a week, but everything west of the Mississippi is going to experience above normal temperatures, while the Great Lakes and much of the east will be a little bit below normal, not to the same extreme as these will be warm here. And dry, at least initially through Sunday. This is the precipitation rate anomaly, so very, very, very low here. We just can't get the Gulf Stream open for business, not the Gulf Stream, the Gulf, which is a moisture supply for the central and sometimes the eastern U.S. too. It is pretty much shut down. In fact, there's really no place in the country over the next week that I would see as excessive rain until maybe we start getting into Sunday late and into Monday, and I'll cover that here in a minute. Here's Tuesday's map. We're looking at this next weather system coming on down. The cold front slicing through Iowa and Nebraska. Warm front moving north into Wisconsin. This cool front taking its sweet time. Eventually, it's just going to stall and just kind of fade away down there in Florida. In terms of precipitation, this is mainly going to be widely scattered stuff here in Missouri. That won't happen till evening. Again, scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm out ahead of the warm front, and continued rain and some couple of showers and storms in Florida, South Georgia, with more substantial rains coming ashore in Oregon and Washington. In fact, that's not showing up on the precipitation amount there. I think I might have cut it off. Anyway, so out ahead of that warm front Tuesday, very, very light precipitation, under a quarter inch for the most part, maybe a half inch in some areas. Same along this front for Tuesday, heaviest rain in the Florida Panhandle. And then on Wednesday, the next cool front drops down into the Missouri-Arkansas area, back into the panhandle of Texas. So cooler behind this weather system, but this one's not as potent as the last one. So it probably will not be associated with the frost and freezing that we're going to experience tonight with that one departing system. And then all the scattered showers and thunderstorms will be well out ahead of this system on the East Coast on Wednesday. Some snow starting to show up in the mountains around Yellowstone and northwest Wyoming, parts of Idaho and Montana, as well as you can start to see some changes here with the jet stream flow coming in there a little bit with more scattered showers and storms in the Pacific Northwest, and that is showing up on the QPF quantitative precipitation forecast. Not extremely heavy, but maybe a half inch and a little bit more in some of those areas. Same can be said for this activity from the middle Atlantic states into the Northeast and including Florida. In fact, if we take a look at the precipitation over the next 3 days, we have that heavier rain in Louisiana tonight. That's where that flooding potential is. Florida is going to be getting some pretty good rain. And for the next 3 days, out ahead of those continuing weather systems, we'll get some rain in New York State, Pennsylvania, parts of Virginia, and North Carolina. Now, not much happens after this, and we have to fast forward to Saturday, where severe storms have shown up on the Storm Prediction Center's site now. This is Kansas, south central Kansas, straight through the western half of Oklahoma down to North Texas. Something to keep an eye on here. And then going ahead to Monday, a risk for heavy rain exists from around Fayetteville, those areas of western Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, down to the Dallas area. If I show you the quantitative precipitation forecast for 2 days here, Friday and Saturday, it starts to show up in northeast Missouri and western Illinois. And then if we go to Sunday and Monday, then it really begins to kick in here from Wisconsin down through almost all of Iowa. We got some totals in there around the 2-inch range. At this distance, again, there's a lot of room for moving that dial and that meter around a little bit, but it does kind of give you a general idea. In fact, if we start next week, Monday, and look at the week after that, so it's 2 weeks out, we do start to see a more of a troughing low pressure situation in the western U.S. with that ridge shifting to the east coast, and the hot temperatures go with it, with the above normal readings on average showing up through the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys eastward and through parts of interior California. And then the precipitation anomaly, you can start to see how something kicks in here. We have enough working on this now to get moisture values, dew points up through Texas, swinging back through Missouri and up into the Great Lakes state to the point where we have a heavy rain chance that has a moderate chance of being a thing from Arkansas down to the Gulf, and including much of East Texas, Southeast Oklahoma, parts of Mississippi, and a good chunk of Louisiana as well. To go with that, we have a severe weather uptick, I think, with the supercell composite from NIU showing activity in Texas, going northward up into maybe as far north as Nebraska and Iowa for the period of the 18th through the 24th. And then out in this area here, where the ridge is, we have a heat possibility here, extreme heat chances, the 19th through the 21st appear for much of the southeastern U.S. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.